Alright folks, welcome back. Today I want to shoot some copper bullets in the 6.5 Grendel. The 6.5 Grendel is one of my favorite alternative chamberings for the AR platform. I've taken a couple deer with the cartridge, but I've never really tried many copper options. You know, the lead-free laws are coming for us eventually, and there are a ton of copper options on the market. So might as well find something that works well for me. So I've got two bullets I'm going to be testing. The first is the Cavity Back Bullets MKZ 105 grain. I've never shot any of these Cavity Back bullets before. A viewer actually sent me these a while back, like 2 years ago. If I'm remembering correctly, they didn't really shoot well for him, and he wanted to see if I would have any luck. So the company is appropriately named because you'll notice the back of the bullet is a big cavity. I'm not sure exactly what that's supposed to do, but I'm sure their website has all sorts of reasoning for it. Now, the biggest downside about these copper options is they're all god-awful expensive. You know, the machining and the materials and all that crap's expensive. They're just expensive. So just about everything is going to be about $1 a bullet, which kind of sucks whenever you don't see the accuracy performance you're after. And my tests with copper solids in other cartridges have always just kind of been mediocre. The lead core bullets generally shoot better, but you know, hopefully today's experience will be different. And let's be honest, at least for me, you know, I'm hunting white-tailed deer at moderate distances. Shooting, you know, 1.5 MOA or something is perfectly adequate. It's really the terminal performance that matters. And assuming you've got enough velocity to expand them properly, you know, copper bullets expand beautifully. There's a lot of different designs for different types of terminal performance, but I think both of the designs we're shooting today are meant to, you know, expand and then hold together for, you know, weight retention and deep penetration, which is generally what I like out of a deer bullet. So got off on a tangent there, but yeah, so that's the first bullet, the Cavity Back 105 grain MKZ. The second bullet is going to be the Barnes 100 grain TTSX boat tail. It's quite a different design when compared to, you know, the Cavity Back. You know, just in bullet length, ogive shape. The Barnes has got the plastic tip. Should be a couple interesting options to test. Now the good news is Barnes has got load data on their website for the 6.5 Grendel. Pretty good selection of powders. And I've picked out 4 different powders straight off of their load data. We're going to shoot some Ramshot X-Terminator. We're going to shoot some Alliant Reloder 15, some IMR 8208 XBR, and some Hodgdon H335. So I consulted a variety of load data sources just to kind of double check that Barnes data. The best alternative source was the Hodgdon website, and the Hodgdon website had load data for another copper bullet in this same weight class, the 105 grain CEB Maximus. Was it? Yeah, cutting edge bullets. The cutting edge bullets Maximus. They've got load data for that. So that was just nice to have another reference like in the weight class, because you know, Cavity Back Bullets doesn't have any load data. So after consulting those sources, I've decided I'm going to shoot 28.0 grains of everything. All of the powders, 28.0 grains, should be an appropriate charge weight. At least I'm hoping. It's a couple grains under max for most of them, so hopefully we've got a little bit of wiggle room in case this Cavity Back bullet has a little higher pressure than the Barnes. Now, so we can get sighted in and warmed up without shooting expensive bullets, I also pulled out some of the 107 grain Sierra Match Kings. I'm going to load up about 30 of those with some IMR 8208 XBR just for sighters. It's been a little while since I've shot this gun, so if we need to make, you know, gas system, you know, gas block adjustments, or if we need to get the scope zeroed or something like that, that should be plenty of ammo to get that done before we start slinging the expensive copper downrange. So for that load data, I went into the Sierra manual, and it looks like 27.0 grains is going to be a good load that's just a little bit under max to shoot with those bullets. So did I put it all on the screen, all the load data? One peculiar thing, the Barnes data is at a cartridge overall length of 2.235. Now the Hodgdon data with the same bullet shoots it at 2.260, which is our normal, you know, magazine length for the AR platform. So I think I'm going to shoot everything at 2.260. We'll look at it here in just a second, but I think we'll just go with 2.260 for everything. So one interesting thing about the Cavity Back bullets was I went to check the max overall length in my rifle just to make sure, you know, we weren't going to be hitting the rifling. So I pulled out the old Stony Point tool, or the the Hornady overall length gauge. So this plastic plunger is what pushes your bullet forward, and with the Cavity Back Bullet, you got a little bit of a problem there because the tip just, yeah, slides right up in there. So I was getting some kind of inconsistent results trying to test my max overall length. So luckily I had another one that was my grandfather's with the old design where things were made out of metal, and that worked a little bit better, but just something to be, just something to be aware of. Now, some of you might know a lot of times to check max overall length, I'll just use a resized case like this that's had the neck split and slide a bullet and then chamber the cartridge, let the rifling, push in the bullet and then pull it out and see what it is. Well, this barrel in particular, I think, just the chamber design, maybe that compound throat of the Grendel or whatever, it loves to grab a hold of bullets. It's pretty much impossible to get consistent results here. So inconsistent results with this method, inconsistent results with this method, and a little bit better with this. But I did at least convince myself that the max, it's over 2.3. So I think it's about 2.340 in my rifle. So we've got, if we're shooting 2.260, we're going to have 80 thousandths of jump. Nothing to worry about. We're not really close. And the same deal with the Barnes. These were a little bit easier to check. I came out with a number of about 2.340, so we're going to have about 80 thousandths of jump with these dudes as well. Now I did go ahead and pull out some seating stems for my Hornady bullet seating die. Like I was talking about earlier with the ogive shape, kind of the TTSX has got a more traditional shape, I guess. And I've got a stem that fits those. And the Cavity Back Bullet fit a lot better with a VLD style seating stem. So I think we're ready to go for bullet seating there as far as stem selection goes. I've just got to remember to change them out whenever I switch between bullets. That's why I put them in the boxes. So for brass, I've got some brand new Starline brass. I had 99 pieces of brand new Starline brass, so that's what we're going to use. I originally planned to make this video back in the fall before my deer season came in. So back then I already ran these through a full-length sizing die just to make sure everything was good to go. Case mouth's been chamfered, and I've installed some CCI 450 primers. These guys right here. So we're ready to get started with weighing powder and seating bullets. Another thing I'll mention is I've got basically this exact same video planned in 6.5 Creedmoor. I'm probably going to do, that'll be my next video. Same format, very similar bullets. These are the 118 grain Cavity Back MKZs sent to me by the same generous viewer. And these 120 grain Barnes, which for the heavier Barnes, I don't think they're selling this part number anymore, but these are exactly the same as the TTSX. I think they had, this was just some sort of military and law enforcement branding for the elite tactical warfighter types. So pretty much just a heavier version of the same bullet. We'll talk more about that in the next video, and I'll verify that. I'll verify to make sure that these are exactly the same as the 120 grain TTSX. I think they are. Or maybe if you guys know, you can let me know down in the comments. All right, let's get started. Let's start weighing some powder. So I think I'm going to start with IMR 8208 XBR and load those 30 ciders to start things. Because since we're loading a total of 50 rounds with this powder, the 30 ciders plus 10 for each of the copper bullets, it makes sense to go through the trouble of filling up the powder dispenser. Check weights. See if we can do 28 grains. There's 20, it's 5, 2 more is 27, and 28. 28.0. However, these first 30 are going to be 27.0 for the Match King. So let's get these weighed out. Where did my ammo tray go? There it is over here. I need a funnel. We'll just use the old RCBS universal funnel. Okay, 29 more to go. Okay, so for these Sierra Match Kings, I need the same seating stem I'm going to be using for the Cavity Back bullets. So let's install that real quick. Okay, a couple things I forgot to mention earlier. You guys have got to give me a break. This is only my second video back after being gone for more than a year. I've only got 29 of the Cavity Back bullets. So in the load data, you might have noticed I'm only shooting X-Terminator, 8208 XBR, and H335. I dropped Reloader 15 for the Cavity Back bullet. Now with the Barnes, I've got 40 something of those, so we're going to shoot all 4 of the powders I mentioned. So if that was confusing, that's why. Also with the Cavity Back bullets, I've got 29 of them, so it's going to be 2 10-shot groups and a 9-shot group. Does that make sense? All of the Barnes groups are going to be 10-shot groups. All right, let's get this die set up. Got the correct shell holder in place. We need to screw this die down until it touches the case mouth right there, and then come back at least 1 full turn. Right there. Okay, die body's in place. Let's back out the adjuster, and we're ready to start. So with these Sierra Match Kings, the target is 2.260. That just barely touched. Come down about 100 thousandths. Seat it again. Everything looks normal. That felt normal. Nice and smooth. We're at 2.401 right now. So 140 thousandths. That should be it right there. 2.264. Come down 5 more, and that should be good. Now with the Grendel magazines I use, I can go a little bit longer than 2.260. Okay, 2.258, that's good. But yeah, what I was saying, with the Grendel mags I use, I can go a little bit longer, but not gonna worry about that today. 2.259. All right, these are all looking good. So I'll seat the rest, and then we'll move on to the coppers. Okay, so I'm down to my last powder, H335. Need to weigh out 19 of these. Went ahead and pulled out my smaller scale. And doing it the slower way. Sometimes it's just not worth cleaning a powder dispenser or a powder measure when you've just got a few. I decided to go ahead and weigh out all of the charges before we do any bullet seating. A little bit confusing, but that's okay, especially today since, you know, we're shooting the exact same charge weight with all 4 powders. So mixing something up would corrupt our data, but not really a safety concern, which is nice. But we're not going to have to worry about that. We're not going to make any mistakes. All right, not much to see here. I'll check in again when we're ready for bullet seating. So I'm going to start the seating with the Cavity Back bullets because it uses the seating stem that we've already got installed in the die. So I'm just going to back out the adjustment a long way. And we'll get to the first one here. We're at about 2.4 right now. So we need to go 146. We'll start with 140. I think some of these loads are going to be a little bit compressed, but not the first one I'm seating, which is X-Terminator. So we're 6 thousandths too long, so I'm going to come down 6. And that's perfect. 2.260. It's a pretty good looking bullet. Those big slits down the ogive for expansion. Yeah. Pretty handsome little round right there. .259, perfect. They're seating smoothly. It's about as easy as it gets. Check one more just to be extra cautious. 2.260. So I'm getting a few little copper shavings. I think it's just as the mouth of the case gets over that band around the bullet, maybe shaving just a touch, but it feels smooth. It feels easy. It doesn't feel like anything to freak out about too much. I know in some, well, I'm thinking 300 Blackout in particular, we have had situations where I needed to expand the mouth a little bit to keep from shaving copper off of some copper bullets. I don't think this is quite, to that level of seriousness, but like if you ever feel like you're digging up a bunch of copper, there are ways to get around it. All right, that's 8208 XBR. Pretty sure that's a slightly compressed load, but overall length still looks good, so maybe not. 2.260. Okay, last cavity backed. There we go. All right. In come the Barnes. Another ammo box. Need to switch out the seating stem. I'll wipe this down, make sure there's no copper shavings there. That way if these bullets are doing the same, I'll be able to tell. Okay, same overall length target. Let's back out the adjuster and see about where we're at. That started nice and smooth, felt good. 2.390. So 130 thousandths. There's the 130. And it's perfect, 2.260. This might be why they were shooting, if you remember, the Barnes recommended overall length was it 2.245 or something like that? It might have been just to take up that last little bit of space there on the final band. I don't know. We're going to stick with this. That looks just fine. Okay, new powder. I think this is 8208 XBR. No, this is Reloader 15. And overall length's just a little bit long now. And it feels like that might be compressed. Let's seat another one. Now that one's perfect, 2.260. Let's run that other one back through one more time. I'll seat the first 5 and then see what the numbers look like. 2.263, 2.265, 2.259, 60, and 68. A little bit all over the place, which is, those are compressed loads. I'm going to look back through some of the others that I know were not compressed. 6.1, 6.4, 6.8, 6.2. Should have pulled out my bullet comparator maybe. Because I think what's going on is just these don't have the most consistent tips, or maybe just construction in general. And we're seeing just variation from that. Once I finish seating, I'll grab the bullet comparator and we'll check cartridge base to ogive on some of these just to see. I'm just going to go ahead and stick with this die setting and roll with it. Like I said, some of them are a little bit long because, like I mentioned, I've got room in my magazines to go a good bit longer, so I'm not worried about that. But if you're shooting a magazine with a strict 2.260 inch overall length limit, then that might be a problem. This is the first of the 8208 XBRs, 2.262. Okay, last one here. Let's grab the bullet comparator and take a few measurements just to make sure things are consistent. I think they will be. Okay, so this little tool right here is going to go onto our calipers, and we zero to it, and it's going to read from the base of the cartridge to the ogive of the bullet. It's like 1.726. Now I should be able to pull out any round in this whole ammo box, and it should be 1.726. Let's try this one over here. Close enough, 1.7255. 1.726. That one's another 1.7255. Yeah, we're good. Not sure why those tips are varying in length that much. I'm not worried about it. Like I said, you just got to be careful if you're loading to a magazine length to look out for crap like this. And if you do see overall length variation, it's probably either, you know, it's something like this, something about the bullet construction. A lot of times with, you know, with the good old-fashioned traditional open tip match bullets, the hollow point is often kind of janky and sideways and got weird stuff. That's why some folks trim them for consistency and stuff. That's the sort of thing that can cause overall length variation. What I was just making sure of as I was going was that sometimes when you get a compressed load, it'll throw off your die setting by a few thousandths just from the additional force it takes to compress the powder. Reloader 15 and 8208 XBR were definitely full cases, but barely compressed, if at all. So, all right, that's it. We've got ammo. It's time to get to the range. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is shoot some of our sighters that we loaded with the 107 grain Sierra Match King. I want to check our zero. I want to check our gas system, make sure our gas block is adjusted about right. And I also want to take the opportunity to test out some magazines. Like I've got, I guess, 7 of these AR Stoner 5-round magazines. Some of them are the ones with the blue follower that are 6.5 Grendel mags. And I've got some that are labeled 6.8, but I can't tell any difference in the follower. But I was talking with somebody on the live stream the other day, and they were talking about, I guess, some magazine issues that are popping up, especially in the 6 ARC. So I use these same magazines in the 6 ARC. That's why I want to test them here in the Grendel. If I know they work in the Grendel and then I have problems in the ARC, that'll be a better situation than not knowing at all. So I'm just kind of going to go, well, I'll shoot 3 shots at a time maybe and just try to cycle through at least a few of these magazines. The target's at 100 yards. This gun has an 18-inch Faxon barrel. This 24 power Vortex scope, it was already on this upper, so I'm hoping that it's all sighted in and ready to go. I don't even remember the last time I shot it, so it might not be, but we'll just assume that it is and see how it goes. I do have a target camera down there, but I don't have a lot of confidence. That camera's seen better days. I really need to replace my target camera. So we'll see how it works out. But worst case scenario, I've got the shot marker running. We should have that data to look at. So let's get started. Let's see if we're on paper. And I do not see a bullet hole, and neither does shot marker. Okay, I need to do a little bit of bore sighting here real quick. So the scope was set way low. That explains it. Let's try again. I was shooting at the far left dot on the top row, so that was way to the right. Big scope adjustment. Let's see if I'm closer. Okay, much closer. So gas system settings look perfect. I'm ejecting back to about 430. That magazine ran just fine, so we'll put that in the verified good pile. I should probably look at the brass real quick. Okay, the brass looks good. Next magazine, I think this is a brand new one, never been used before. All right. Magazine worked great. Put that one in the good pile. Those last 3 shots are right stacked there together. I like it when that happens. Go over here and hide the first shot. Yeah, it looks like those 4 are into 0.99 inches. Pretty good start. I'm going to switch to one of the older 6.8 magazines. This one's got a gray follower. You know, this problem they brought up, it might not apply to these 5-round magazines. Maybe it's people using those big terrorist magazines. I'm trying to make a YouTube-friendly program here, folks. and most importantly, when you're shooting off of a bench rest, trying to manipulate a big magazine is a huge pain in the butt. All right, 3 more shots. So I'm going to move 2 clicks to the left, and I think 1 click down should get us a little bit closer to center, hopefully. That magazine worked just fine. I'm going to switch to my oldest and crustiest magazine. This one's the same way with the gray follower, 6.8 label on the follower. I'm pretty sure this is a bad magazine. I think I wore this one out. We'll try it. If it's bad, I need to throw it in the trash so I don't get mixed up. Okay, even the old crusty magazine's working just fine. All right, I think that's enough magazine testing. I still got a couple brand new ones that I've never shot. Like, I'm not going to worry about testing them. I have pretty high confidence in my magazines at this point. So the velocities on this load are hilariously low. The average was 2,288 feet per second. That is crazy for a 107 grain bullet. We could get a whole lot more velocity out of this, but results on paper were pretty good. They're going right where I'm pointing, so happy about that. All right, I want to take a quick break real quick, let the gun cool down just a touch. I'm going to go double check that target camera, see if it's working at all, and then we'll move on to shooting the real stuff. So I just ran into the exact same problem I used to have with my target camera, so might have lost that footage, not sure. Might not have any target camera footage in this video, and that's okay. We'll buy a new camera. It's not a big deal. Okay, so we've cleared shot marker. We're going to start out with a 10-shot group with Ramshot X-Terminator and the Cavity Back Bullet, the 105 grain Cavity Back. Let's see what happens. Okay, first velocity was 2492. It's a little closer to what I was expecting than what we were seeing with the cider ammo. The brass looks good. Yeah, brass looks fine. Let's see if it groups. Okay, kind of walking up there. Let me double check, make sure my suppressor isn't coming loose or something like that. Nope, don't see any problems. Let's keep shooting. So that is some pretty wild vertical stringing. 2.27 inch group. So I don't know what the average velocity is. There's a new version of this godforsaken Lab Radar app, and I can't figure out how to look at the individual shots and delete stuff, whatever. I screwed it up. So let's go ahead and move on. The same bullet, the 105 grain Cavity Back. This time it's with IMR 8208 XBR. Let's see if our vertical stringing continues. First velocity 2427. First piece of brass looks good. Got some more weird vertical stringing. You know, I'd be worried a lot more about that if we hadn't just shot those Match Kings and they were fine. And we've got some of the Match Kings left over, so at the end we'll shoot those to verify. I mean, the scope's tight, suppressor's tight. Let's keep shooting. Okay, so I managed to get that velocity, 2395, standard deviation 16.4. The group kind of rounded out there, didn't it? It's a 1.64 inch group. That's not bad. It's not great, but it's not bad. Okay, so the last group with the cavity back bullets is going to be with H335. And this is going to be our 9-shot group. So I've got the first 5 in the magazine. Let's see what happens. Okay, first velocity 2359. The first piece of brass seems okay. We're not tearing up any case heads or anything like that. See if it groups. Okay, 4 more. Okay, so velocities were 2372, standard deviation 12.9. The group was 1.85 inches. All 3 of these groups a little bit ugly, not gonna lie, but just kind of what I've typically seen with copper bullets, to be honest with you. So I'm gonna go check on the target camera, let the gun cool down a little bit, and then we'll move on to the Barnes bullets. But the cavity backs didn't really impress. Now I will mention, number one, this gun, this barrel, has been notoriously picky about bullets. Like, we've kind of had to work to find some bullets that it likes. Holding out hope for the Barnes. We'll see what happens. Yeah, folks, I think my poor target camera's toast. I turned the quality way down to see if maybe it'll work with crappy quality settings. So we'll see how it goes. I should be able to recover some footage, but not going to have all of it. All right, moving right along to the 100 grain Barnes TTSX. We're going to start with Ramshot X-Terminator. The wind has really picked up. I'm going to have to dodge some of these wind gusts. Should be able to do that. Looks like we're way out to the right there. First velocity was 2484, and the brass looks good. Yeah, that is about a mile out to the right. I might be zoomed in too far with the camera to even be able to see those. Okay, 5 more. Okay, so that was a 2.24 inch group. See, even if we hide this first one, it's 1.92, and if we hide the 5th one, it's 1.06. So it was almost kind of trying to group, just shooting a couple inches to the right. I'm not going to bother moving my sights just for this. We'll just deal with it. But velocity was 2516, a little bit higher than we saw with the, the slightly heavier 105 grain cavity back. So that looks about right. All the brass looked good. So let's move on to Reloader 15 and see if it does any better. First velocity was 23.42. First piece of brass looks good. Five more shots to go. Okay, velocity a little bit weird. So this time our velocity was lower than the cavity backed. It was 23.57, 12.2 feet per second standard deviation. I got a false shot and I missed a couple shots with the lab radar. I bet some of those wind gusts. I've got the microphone installed on the lab radar to pick up the suppressed fire, and it seems like maybe I got a false trigger or something, but no big deal. The group was almost decent. It was 2.42 inches, but if we hide this first shot, the other 9 shots went into 1.57 inches. So I guess that's interesting. All right, halfway done with the Barnes. I'm going to take another break, let the gun cool down a little bit, go down to the target, waste some more time dicking with that stupid target camera. I'll be right back. So it just dawned on me how that point of impact shifted to the right quite a bit. I tightened up the barrel adapter on my suppressor after I got done with the cavity backs. So maybe that had something to do with it. I don't know. Once we finish with the Barnes, we'll go back to the Sierra Match Kings, and we'll see if that zero shifted as well, because that's a pretty wild shift to the right, like 3 or 4 inches. So we'll see. Okay, next up, 8208 XBR. See how it does. What in the heck is going on? Now that one, so good grief. So this dot is what I'm shooting at. I'm shooting at the dot that's covered in the holes from the previous group, because previously I was shooting like 3 inches to the right. So I guess we'll just roll with it, but that's weird. That's really weird. The brass looks good. The first velocity was 24.54, which is a little bit higher than we saw with the cavity back, which is what we expect. So I just realized the Reloader 15, the last group was Reloader 15. We did not shoot that powder with the cavity back. That's why I wasn't paying attention to my list and was comparing velocities with 8208 XBR. I'm easily confused, folks. I probably just confused you, so welcome to the party. Okay, and then the second shot goes way over there to the right where I expected. Very weird. And there's no way I shot at the wrong dot on that first shot, because in my mind I was already remarking how weird it was. I'm basically shooting at the bullet holes from the previous group, so I know I was aiming at the right spot. And you know what? I think that's a couple instances where the first shot was wild and the other 4 did something different. So maybe there's a first shot off the magazine issue that I'm not aware of here. I will say with these magazines that 5th round goes in, you know, pretty tight. Maybe it's not feeding as smoothly as the others and getting a little bit banged up. I don't know. We'll look at that later. Okay, so velocity was 24.53, standard deviation 3.9. The group was an extremely ugly 3.95 inch group, with this first one going out here to the left about a mile. Let's hide it. The other 9 went into 2.19 inches. So still not very good, but at least a little bit better. Just kind of ugly. So the last test in this travesty of an experiment is H335. I'm assuming it's going to shoot about a 2.5 inch group like everything else has. So let's try it and see. off to that same start with the first shot going a mile left. That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. And I didn't have some big wait time between those groups where like this is a cold barrel sort of phenomenon where after a break you come back, the first shot goes way left. Like it was 60 seconds. Okay, maybe more like, I don't know, 3 minutes. Okay, 5 more. Okay, so we got a velocity of 2461, standard deviation of 11. We've got a butt ugly 4.11 inch group. The first shot off each of the magazines went way left. Maybe that's a thing. Without those two, the other 8 are a 1.81 inch group. Not great, folks. Not great. So I've still got 18 shots with the Sierra Match King, and you know, this is new brass. I definitely want to shoot them all, just at least to fire form everything. So let's do a somewhat rapid fire 18 shot group. I'm going to load the magazine all the way up with 5 rounds, and we'll see if the first round is giving us any problems like it has been with these last few. The other, looking to see if I've got that 3-inch shift to the right. So we'll see. Nope, no problems there. First 5 shots into 0.72 inches. Let's keep it going. Group's getting a little bit bigger, 0.91 inches. Here's 5 more. The wheels are coming off. 3 more. So I guess it takes about 14 rounds of really rapid fire before the group starts to go to crap, which is okay. Now the funny thing is that 18 shot group, 2.21 inches, is smaller than any of the groups with the Barnes bullets. Tell you one good thing, all of the brass from today has landed in a tiny little pile right where you want it. So the gas system on this gun is really dialed in nicely. So that's good news, I guess. All right, let's get back to the bench, talk about what can be done to maybe get some copper bullets shooting a little bit better. So all of our brass is looking fantastic. Let's see if I can find some pieces that aren't dirty and covered in mud. The gas system, like I mentioned out there, I've got it pretty dialed in. Barely even getting any marks from the barrel extension. A little bit there, but nothing to freak out about. Here's another. Yeah, minimal marks. I feel a little something on the rim there. Yeah, maybe a little mark from the extractor there. But not bad at all. Here's one last one we'll have a look at. Looking good. Maybe just a little scratch or two from extraction, but overall very happy with the brass from today. So I don't think much can be gained from talking about our groups. This was the best copper group of the day, the Cavity Back Bullets with the 8208 XBR, 1.64 inches. It's just not good enough. None of it's good enough. Just ugly all around. So this is just another example of my typical experience when trying to shoot copper bullets. Always a bit disappointing. You know, the only real issue we had was with some copper scraping off of the Cavity Back bullets. I should have flared the mouth of the cases to make sure that seating was going to go smooth. There weren't any problems whatsoever with the Barnes, just the Cavity Back. And I don't think it would have made much difference, but you never know. But the good news here is that we've got another chance, right? We've got a heavier version of that bullet. We're going to be loading it in 6.5 Creedmoor. It's going to be my next video. And I am going to, whether it's my universal case expander die, you know, there's a die to, yeah, this die's got a little expander that goes down, and you can, you know, set it to open up the mouth of the case a little bit. So we'll probably do that. You know, and then after bullet seating, we'll close it again with a crimp. It shouldn't take much, like just the tiniest little bit. But that'll be a topic for the next video. Otherwise, everything went smoothly. Everything went great. We tried a good variety of powders. I think this gun just didn't want to shoot them. And like I also mentioned earlier, this barrel, this 6.5 Grendel Faxon barrel that I've got is picky. We've only really found a couple bullets that it likes. I was surprised the 107 grain Sierra Match King shot as well as it did today. It was stacking those in there pretty well with 8208 XBR. But the next video, the 6.5 Creedmoor, that barrel has been much more forgiving. We found it shot well with a whole lot wider variety of bullets than the barrel from today. So I'm holding out hope. I think we'll find something. And if we don't, we'll keep going. You know, it's January. Deer season doesn't come in for another 10 months. We've got 10 months to figure this out. We've got the time. We've got the patience. We can do it. If the Creedmoor's a bust as well, what we'll probably do is try similar tests in 6mm arc, and we'll pull out my 308 upper, my AR-10 308 upper with the Krieger barrel. That gun will shoot anything. That upper is a beast. So we'll get there eventually. But today was a big fat failure. And we could try some other, you know, other bullet companies as well. These are just what I had in stock for the 6.5. I don't have anything in 6mm or 30 caliber. So we'll be going out to the market. Maybe we'll try some cutting edge bullets. Maybe we'll try some makers. You guys let me know in the comments if there are brands you've had success with. There's a lot of different companies. So we'll find something. Are we done? Have we talked about everything? I think we've talked about everything, folks. Thanks for joining me. I'll be starting work on that Creedmoor video pretty much immediately. So look for that video in maybe a week, and I'll see you then.